Okay, we're recording whenever you guys are ready.
Erin Phillips, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to be sitting down with you and to be discussing all things your book Inside and Out. I have to say it was such a good read.
Oh, thank you.
What was the process like?
Long.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was a huge mountain of work to get through, but it was a process that I actually didn't know I needed to do as well. There were so many things, elements in my life, stories, experiences that I never revisited. And yeah, so very therapeutic from one end, and also extremely rewarding to be able to put my story out there, share some of the highs and lows. Obviously, I'm an athlete, but to show more sides of myself other than just being an athlete, but to talk about my family, my struggles, and to pretty much tell people that even though you can be successful at something, you're not immune to struggles of life and other challenges that may face.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are such a role model, particularly for a lot of females in sport too. So for all of us to be able to see both sides of the coin and not just all the winning that you do and all the fabulousness.
Well, no, thank you. And like it's important though, right? Because we're all human, and I've never met anybody that hasn't had those challenges. And I think for me, and one of the things that I'm most excited about, most satisfied about, is the fact that to do this book, you have to do it. Well, I thought, and I still believe, you've got to write it from the inside and out and tell your whole story and be your true, authentic self. And there's no other way to be to write. So I'm extremely proud. Extremely proud it's done. Like I said, it's a mountain of work, and happy it's out.
Yeah, and you can really feel that authenticity, that vulnerability through the pages. It's such an incredible book. For those listening, I'll introduce Erin. So she's a mother of 4 and wife to Tracy. She's an Olympian, 3-time AFLW premiership player, and obviously the author of the book Inside and Out, a story of family, self and sport. So obviously being a parenting podcast, I wanted to dive into some of the commentary you had about your upbringing, about how your parents were with you, and then also how you'll then reflect those experiences on the way in which you parent your children too.
Sure.
So let's delve into the first theme, and we got a few insights from our audience too.
Great.
So this wasn't just me coming up with these questions. Thank you to everyone also who wrote in and DM'd me. Love your contribution. So you say in the book, and I'm going to quote you say about your dad, he was your toughest critic. I could have played my best game of the season and he'd bring up the one kick I sprayed or the mark I dropped. Sometimes it got to me because I wanted his approval more than anyone's, but I came to understand that he just wanted me to be better. Mum, on the other hand, had always told me how great I was in every moment. Now, I can so relate to that. So I've actually got the dad and the mum that you had in that. So my parents were migrants to Australia, actually. Dad's Nigerian, mum is Greek. Dad came from that very disciplinarian cultural, approach. Academics is everything, push, push, push. So for me, getting the A, excelling, was going to give me the love that I desired so strongly from him. Mum was a lot softer, and so we had a completely different relationship. I think where that's taken me in life is that I am very ambitious, like yourself, very motivated. I'm just curious, and obviously that's had the same, you've had the same experiences to some extent. When you reflected on that, what were you thinking?
So we'll rewind back. I grew up a very, very bound and determined kid, very needed to win everything. So my dad, who was a footballer at the time, he played for Collingwood. I was actually born over here. We moved back to Adelaide with my 2 older sisters, and I was just this young kid wanting to be like Dad, competitive. Like my sisters would have to let me win just in order to sometimes have a peaceful night at home. And my mum and dad were our biggest supporters, and the biggest message to us as kids is follow your dreams. If you find something that you love, you'll do it well. And so my childhood, my focus, I wanted to be like Dad. I wanted to play AFL. Football was everything to me. And my dad, who was also an athlete, there were still elements that he's still a kind, funny, big, pretends to be tough but not really, dad. But he's also got this drive, this athlete, professional side of him that did come through when I was playing and playing sport. And there was a big appreciation for his honesty, because if he was lying, I could have called BS. Like, I know you don't believe that was a good game, or that was something. Whereas Mum was like, that was the best game ever. That was wonderful. Like, complete. I'm like, Mum, I was horrible, but I love you for just loving me unconditionally. So I had really good balance. I didn't ever feel like I had to prove myself to my parents. It was always prove myself to me, because I had expectations and they still exist. I wanted to be at a certain level, and once I got to that level, it was always more. There was never enough. And so there were my own expectations. Dad was just always that realist in my life, and still is today. So I'm thankful for the balance.
Yeah. How do you think you will parent with your children when it comes to motivation?
I will not let them win all the time either, because I think it's important. I want them to find whatever their passion is. And I get asked all the time, my wife Tracy, who was an ex-professional basketball player, they always ask us, is it going to be football or is it going to be basketball that they want to play? And I say, I have no idea. I actually don't care what they want to do. I want them, my biggest worry as a parent, or just want for them, is to find something that they want to jump out of bed, get up and do, and are motivated to do. Would I love that to be sport? Yes, from a selfish point of view, because I know what sport can bring kids and what that can teach just outside of winning and losing. But my biggest, I suppose, concern or just want is that they find that their thing, their groove. And for Tracy and I, we're just meant to be the wind in their sails.
Do you think if sport was their, area of passion, do you think you'll take the approach of your dad or your mum?
I think I'm going to take a bit of both. I think obviously both are important. And trust me, Dad gave me plenty of praises, but he also knew, again, how much better you can still be, because that's the mentality we both have, and that was the biggest strength he had, and also for me as well, is to keep pushing the boundaries. But I coach my daughter. I've got 4 kids, 2 8-year-old twins, boy, girl, an almost 6-year-old boy, and an almost 2-year-old girl. And I coach my daughter's under 10s football and basketball team with all the free time that I have. Apparently I've put my hand up to do. And my only want and focus for her and her teammates is that they come to training, the next training, and want to be there and want to perform, and they want to play and they want to have fun. There's got to be an element of both, but there does need to be an element of disappointment and struggle and a bit uncomfortable, because, in my most uncomfortable times, it's been my biggest growth. Now, do I want them to go through everything that I've experienced? No. I mean, you try to protect your kids so much, but there has to be that struggle and own growth.
Yeah. What I was just thinking, what a lucky bunch of kids for you to be coaching them. Wow. They're locked out.
Well, it was funny because I heard one of my football kids say to someone that, Erin Phillips is our coach, so we're all playing AFLW when we're older. And I was like, oh my gosh,
so
how's the expectations from me? But I love the confidence.
Pressure's on. That's the best. And I think you touch on something really important here. And I know you talk about a lot about sort of your competitive nature, hence how you made it to the heights of success when it comes to sport. These days, and I'd love your thoughts, society, particularly for our little ones, I've got a 5 and 6-year-old, I just feel it's a different ballgame when it comes to competitiveness. For example, school sports carnival, everyone gets a participation ribbon. I'm sorry, but when we were growing up, it was first, second or third, and that's it.
Yes.
So are we teaching our young children resilience enough, do you think?
No, we're not. I don't think we are. And it's a contentious issue we're talking about, because I am all promoting that, yes, to be a part of something, whether you come first, second or third, it's so important to participate. I'm not ruling that out, so please don't DM us and go mad at me. But like I said before, there is a level of, look, if you want to compete, and it's not just sport, because like I said, sport teaches us so much just outside going for a job, getting that role, doing that, and getting promoted. You're going to find yourself in situations where you're going to be the first, and then you're going to find yourself in situations where you're not going to be first, you're going to be last or something. If we're not teaching our kids those resilient aspects, then we're going to set them up for when the time comes and they're adults and they're off in the real world. They're not going to ever know or feel those struggles. But it's definitely, things like not keeping scores. I mean, to a degree, yes, I don't think from a real small young age it's necessary, but introducing winning and losing. But teach your kids when they do lose in a team, in a sport or an individual sport, the meanings of losing. I think it's not just you lost, you're the worst, full stop. Yeah. Teach them how they've lost, and teach them how then they can get better. That's the next step that we need to be focusing on our kids, is that, okay, we're here, now how do we get to here? And embrace that part of it and encourage that side of it, and know that it's okay to lose, Now let's figure out how we can get better. Yeah,
I love that. So true. Like, learning from the times that we stumble, which you've done a lot of, and you speak about that in the book, like how do you pick yourself up? I mean, how did you, just on that, a lot of the time, think about your greatest challenges, pick yourself up and go, you know what, today is going to be a better day?
One of the biggest lessons that came out from a huge disappointment was when I was cut from London in 2012. I was one of the last ones cut, and one of the most proudest times I've been of myself is that sometimes when things don't go our way, or we don't get selected, or we don't get what we want, it's the easiest thing to do is to blame and to say, oh, it's not my fault, it's them, or the coach is wrong, or, they didn't do this or that. Instead of doing that, because it's only going to make myself feel better for a day, the outcome's not going to change. I looked myself in the mirror and I said to myself, right, if these are the reasons why I didn't make the side, how can I get better so that next time I'm in this position, those reasons can never, ever be used against me again? And I had to change. So self-reflect, evolve, change. Sometimes you can change and you get what you want. Sometimes you don't. But I think for me, I was able to take responsibility in those hard times, change, and then come to fast forward to the next Olympic selection. I'm in the team. So it was a big moment of resilience for me, learning in the hardest time to not get selected in Olympic Games. But yeah, like I said, I had a lot of growth, and that was a moment I thought, you know what, sometimes you just got to put your hand up and say, how am I going to get better?
Yeah, absolutely. Just taking ownership of that rather than feeling like it's all out of your control, like you're saying.
I hear parents so many times, it's my kid's not playing, the coach is this, the coach is that, they don't do this. And I just think that's not promoting any benefit for your kid. Yeah. That player plays too much, like putting them against teammates or whatever. Yeah. It's just, we've got to work on ourselves, the language we use, the messaging that we can achieve. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And as parents, we just want the best, for our children, and we cotton ball them at times. But it's important to, as you said, have that reflection with our kids, look at opportunities to help them grow, and sometimes have those more uncomfortable conversations, in order for them to grow and learn better.
What we want to do with our kids, whatever they're doing, is we want them to be brave enough to go give it a go. Whether they succeed, whether they fail, I call it success because they've gone and given it a go. Yeah. That's a huge tick, to have the guts and courage to just go give something a go. Our responsibility as parents is to always be there. I call ourselves, Tracy and I, we're trampolines. Every time they fall down, we spring them back up. That's our role as parents.
Yeah, I love that. That's so great. Thoughts about, because obviously in the book you did touch on the fact that you weren't your traditional, I say in talking marks, girly girl, for example. A lot of us have children. I mean, myself, I've got 2 sons. One is more, I say in talking marks, a boy, you know, but the other one actually loves to draw, loves Disney princesses, loves, you know, other things, right? That traditionally we would say, oh, well, that's not a boy's thing, you know, to do. Other parents listening may have girls who love trucks and cars or whatever. Other people might have developmental differences. Others might have physical differences. So as parents, what do you think when we've got society saying this is kind of how things should be, and you're looking at your child as a parent going, okay, well, my kid doesn't fit in that mould, what would be some of the guidance you would give?
Well, all my kids don't fit in any moulds. I don't believe in moulds. I just believe that they need to be whoever they are. For me, I grew up, all I wanted to wear was Ninja Turtles. And I remember going into, you know, Kmart, wherever we were going, and there would be like a girls section and a boys section. And all I wanted to do was shop in the boys section because there was no Ninja Turtles in the girls section at all. And my mum let me. My mum let me go and pick out a T-shirt, not all the time, but you know, something out of the boys section, the Lucky Dips that were $1. Girls Lucky Dips, boys Lucky Dips. Well, I wanted the, you know, the toy, whatever, truck doll or whatever it was, not the, you know, frilly thing over there. So I was so lucky that they just let me be who I wanted to be. And that's exactly what we've got to do with our kids, is that they're going to find their groove. They're going to find their people. But yeah, to be moulded into society, I'm not sure what we're trying to look to mould our kids to be.
Yeah.
You just got to let them figure that out.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's just those, you know, for years and years, that traditional sense of, you know, everyone has to be this certain way that kind of came down. But I think I know our generation is a lot more open-minded.
Yeah. I still have my Ninja Turtle pajamas, so they will never leave me.
I love it. Just on the point of sort of equality, I mean, obviously you are such a big, you know, advocate for women in sport. You're such a, you know, role model for so many. You've had a massive influence in, you know, and you've seen, and as you mentioned in your book too, you know, you've seen what it's like to not be allowed to play sport, you know, football to the seniority that you would have liked when you had to stop. I think it was age 13. Yep. And then, you know, now you're seeing AFLW and all of these great things happening. So you've really seen this trajectory for women in sport. Thoughts on where we are today and where do you want to see things going?
Oh, of course, it's progressed so much. I think back to that game we played in a grand final 2019 in front of 53,000 people at Adelaide Oval against Carlton. Now that for me was just a huge turning point moment in not just AFLW but women's sport in general, because it goes to show that we have a great product. Women's sport is a fantastic product. We're just seeing overseas, we're seeing this incredible surge of women's sport, just having this huge groundswell of just incredible support. Look at the WNBA, the amount of coverage, Caitlin Clark in particular, how much, you know, she's now driving the next generation of women in sport. So we still have a long way to go. I'm not sitting here saying it's at all equal to the men's. We need more support. We need more people investing in women's sport. More people that they say they want to support women. They love watching women support women's sport. Now they've got to come to games. They've got to watch it. They get friends to come. Yeah. So back it up with actions too as well. So I'm excited. I think we're in a really nice trajectory. We're on our way to bigger and better things, but it's obviously not equal to, obviously, if you compare AFLW and AFL men's, big difference. Yeah. But if you're comparing AFL men's when it first started to AFLW, and I think we're still heading in a really nice direction.
Yeah, it's amazing. You do touch on in the book, what if I was born a boy, you know, and what would have that done for my wealth, for my status, for my everything? Yeah. Talk to us a bit about that.
Well, you know, Josh Giddey, who plays NBA, he's about to sign, I think I read somewhere like $84 million contract. My first rookie salary for the Connecticut Sun, I think, was around $35,000 US. my highest salary was, I think, equivalent to about 170,000 Australian dollars. So not quite $84 million, but so that there's a big scope of the difference of the money that men can make compared to women. We've got a long ways to go in those extremes. But I'm not going to sit here and say I'm ungrateful for my experiences, the teams, the opportunities that I've had, because I wouldn't be where I am today. Incredibly happy, love of my life, family, with all the experiences that I've had. But would it have been nice to have made $84 million? Sure, I'll take it.
Sign me up. No, I love that. And I think, and you do say that in the book as well. It's like, look, my journey has taught me resilience, has taught me so much, and has led me to where I am today, which is a really happy place, as you said, married, children, etc. So important to reflect on when at times we can feel like, oh, well, that inequality, that's not fair, So I think it's important to get the good, like
Definitely.
you say.
And understand that just because you have all the money in the world doesn't make you the happiest person in the world as well. So I'm grateful that I've been in leagues where I've been able to help in a small way for then the next generation. I've seen their salaries go up, and that's their responsibility to keep driving that forward.
Yeah, 100%. I love how humble you are in a small way, but that's okay. We'll take it. Talking about good times, and celebrating the small moments. You say in your book, I never really celebrated anything I did or achieved for longer than a day. I've never been satisfied. There is always something else bigger and better to accomplish. I know that's why I've been successful, but I also know that is why I find it very hard to relax, be present, and enjoy the moment. I can so relate to that as well. I don't know, it's a type A thing. I don't know what's going on. But in listening to that, and for a lot of us out there as parents in our careers, with our families, in life, can you talk to us and perhaps give us a little bit of a shake up and reminder as to why it is important to be present and celebrate the small moments?
It is really important, and it's still, even today, I talk about how I try to be more present and stand still. It's hard, you always. Society is we're always thinking what's next. I know for me it's always been what's next. I never really sat still for longer than 2 minutes. My wife jokes that I'm the worst person to watch a movie with, because I'm either gone up and done something or I've fallen asleep. Like, it's just hard for me to sit for longer than 10 minutes. But like I suppose when I had kids, you start seeing time so differently, because they're changing right there in front of your face. Like, it's not just the clock. You're seeing physical changes, and it's a reminder that when you're home, be home. Turn your phone on silent. When you're at work, be at work. Wherever you are, try to be present. There's nothing worse than just constantly trying to be somewhere, thinking about something else, or your brain's scattered. I know as parents it's hard, because you're always thinking about, all right, you've got school sports day coming up, I need to get book week bloody done. Like, who knows what they're going to be. So it's for me personally, it's a constant reminder of just when you're home, be home, take a breath. Things can wait. And that's another thing. The things that we think need to get done now actually don't need to be. We can wait. They can get done at another time.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something like, it's a daily reminder for me just to kind of hear that and go, right, you're here right now. This is where you need to be, and this is where you want to put all of your attention to.
Definitely.
No, I love that. Lastly, I have a quick question relating to finance. So our podcast partner is Axton Finance. They're an award-winning brokerage here in Melbourne.
Awesome.
Just curious, do you have, you've got 4 children, like cost of living's through the roof.
Yes.
Curious as to a tip that you might have for families out there who are looking to sort of save or budget.
Yeah, that's a good question. And with having boys, how much they eat.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous. Tracy and I started, once the twins were born, we opened up a separate account for them, and we've just started putting money aside for them just on a weekly basis, whether it's $20 a week, $10 a week, but something that constantly goes into that. We're now starting with our kids understanding the value of money, because Tracy and I sit down and go, our kids just don't know how good they have it. They just get up, their lunch is made, they go to school, they get presents when it's their birthday. So now they're in control of their money. So they can see their money in real time. They can see if they go and spend on Yochi a $10.
Right.
They see a $10 bill be given away, kind of breaks their heart.
Yeah.
So we're trying to start educating them on money and the importance of saving. But yeah, in this climate, it's bloody tough, and it can be. So making sure that we can start good habits at a young age is important.
Yeah, that's great. I love that tip. I ask all of my guests this final question. How has parenthood changed you as a person?
Well, it's definitely challenged my patience as a person, because again, my wife will tell you that I'm impatient. On to the next thing, but I'm also I was pre-kids. I was an athlete. I was a wife and an athlete, and the only thing that revolved around my world was getting myself right for a training and a game. So I was very much living in this like bubble of it's about me and my sport, because that was my job, that was my life. And then I had Tracy and I straight off the bat had twins, and one kid's tough. Twins is crazy.
Next level.
And I remember I was the kind of person that pre a basketball game, I needed to have like the right sandwich. So like the right bread that I like, the avocado, all the things that go in between it. And it was just like I had to make sure it was all perfect, to the point where when I had twins, we had twins, I was just glad that there was bread in the cupboard, and I was okay with peanut butter sandwich because I had no time to go to the store. Tracy certainly had no time to go to the store. And so it made me relax on so many levels of it's not going to be perfect. Parenting, it cannot be perfect. Life is going to be this constant juggle. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. You're going to have to eat peanut butter sandwiches, and you're going to have to be okay with it, which I am, by the way. I love them. But it just forced me to be so much more flexible than my kind of rigid, focused self.
Yeah.
And so for the better, because I actually started performing better on the field by having kids, because I wasn't so rigid or stuck in that didn't go to plan. I was able now to just start being more flexible on the fly.
Yeah, wow. That's so interesting.
Yep.
There you go.
Maver's peanut butter, extra crunchy, by the way.
That's my favourite too.
Yes. Dark roasted.
Oh, no, I haven't tried that one. Oh,
game changer. Yep.
Love it. What's next for you, Erin?
So I'm currently working at the AFL in the football operations department. I do some work with Channel 7, so you'll see me on Sundays on the boundary. Still involved in sport, coaching kids' sports, being a parent, being a wife, and not in that order, promise. Try to balance it all out. But life's busy, life's fun. I'm super excited that I'm doing a bit of a book tour now and talking about my experiences and life. And like I said, hopefully I can share it and people can learn one or two things about me, but most importantly, help them in any area of their life if they're struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. For everyone listening, Inside and Out is such a great book. I will drop the link to Erin and all of her Instagram, etc., in the show notes. It's one you want to get your hands on. And I can say personally, there were so many lessons in that. There's always lessons in hearing other people's stories. So once again, thank you for being so vulnerable and open in the book and today, and really appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for all the DMs, listeners.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Stopping recording.